Hello, I'm Annalouise, and today's video is one step at a time. You might see the change of scene. I came to England on Sunday, and in the travel here, it was a really good example of taking one step at a time. Why might taking one step at a time be good? You can tell me your reasons. What comes to mind? For me, taking one step at a time means that I can stay and be more present. I'm not projecting into the future about what might happen. I can stay open. I can put my attention on what really wants to happen next. What is the impulse to happen next? And it helps me not go into mind stories about this and then that and trying to overplan, to have too much control and to take myself out of just what's here. The other good thing about one step at a time is it can really help reduce overwhelm. If we're feeling overwhelmed and everything's too much, we've got lots of things racing around in our mind, we can just bring ourselves back to one step at a time. The other thing that I've just learned really over the last week about one step at a time is that it can help invite other people around us to be more present too, and I'll come on to that in a little bit. So I'm going to tell you a little story about my travel to the UK and talk a little bit more about taking one step at a time and how it might benefit us, and invite us all to use it as an invitation to be more here in this day. I decided to come to England about a week ago, and I had been working out for a while what might be a good window to come over given all the travel restrictions. And when the moment arose, it was like, right, this is it. This is the moment that I want to come. And I knew that coming would require some logistics because, of course, there's different forms of testing and things like that. So I knew I needed a pre-test and a post-test on my journey over. So there was a real sense for me, well, who knows whether I'll really arrive, right? There's been so much uncertainty the last year and a half. You know, who knows whether the flight will actually run? Who knows whether the testing will go smoothly? I'll have all the documentation. Things might change in terms of the actual whether I'd be allowed to travel or the types of quarantine, you know, all the usual things we're familiar with. And so I chose not to tell many people I was coming because I thought it's much better just to take one step at a time and arrive and then tell some people that I was here and see what wanted to happen next. I did tell some people, and I was really interested that some people really wanted to know what my plans were. They're like, well, what are you going to be doing, or where are you going to go, or what? And I was like, oh, I'm just taking one step at a time. And first of all, I'll arrive, and then I'll see what happens next. And one person actually asked me after I said that, they said, well, but you must have some plans. Like, really, no, I'm just taking one step at a time, because who knows, right? Who knows whether I might arrive or not. And I don't want to waste my attention in something that might not happen. Because if I don't get there, then I'm better keeping my attention where I am and just moving on and not needing to feel disappointment, or just being able to be in each day. I also noticed it a little bit, given my attentions in this territory at the moment, the desire of so many of us to need to know our plans or the future, or to map things out. What might you do with this? What might you do with that? What are you going to do here? And like, oh, we shall see. We shall see. The future will take care of itself. And I say that to a lot of people. The future will take care of itself, because really, I don't know. And some of us live more in that place of not knowing, and some of us live less in that place of not knowing. But the truth is, wherever we are on that scale, we don't really know, do we? We don't really know. We don't know what might happen. And I sense that often we want to create plans and we want to know because it gives us this sense of security. It gives us some sort of thing to hang on to give us confidence, or to give us this sense, right, well, I'll do this and I'll do that, and then I'll go there and then I'll do this. And I'm not, there's nothing wrong with having a sense of confidence and security. And yet it is false, right? It is false because we don't know. We don't know. We can only plan so much. And in the constant planning for the future, I think it does two things. It first of all takes us out of just appreciating what's here. Just appreciating what's here. And it also takes us out, even more importantly, maybe, I don't know, what equally importantly, is the magic that can present itself if we are open to not knowing. I was speaking to this lovely woman the other day I was on a retreat. It was about 3 weeks ago, and she was saying how she's really living in a very surrendered place now, because how on earth could she know what was best for her? With her tiny mind and perspective and conditioning in the context of the whole of universal consciousness, how could she know? How could she know, what opportunities might present and what paths that might open up? And I must admit, some of the biggest transformative periods of my life have been when I've really surrendered into paths that have been completely new and different, and I had no expectation of. Many times I didn't even know those paths existed. And if, of course, I'd been too fixed to a specific plan or a sense of what's going to happen next, I wouldn't have been able to open myself and follow those impulses. So those are two elements: the sense of being able to be open, to be able to let flow and serendipity and spirit guide, and also not to plan too much so that we can be here. If we're constantly thinking, oh, X, then Y, then this, then that, and then I'll do this. Yeah, look, we forget our environment. I noticed that the other day. I was in a walk, it was yesterday, walking in the beautiful forest, and sometimes I caught my mind thinking into the future, and I was just like, oh, just come back to this amazing, amazing forest, all the beautiful smells and the greenness and the lushness, the preciousness of it all. And I can see just how habitual it can be for, my mind to jump into scenario planning. So what's good about recognizing this more fully? It's like when we feel ourselves overly planning, coming back to just that phrase of taking one step at a time, coming back to this day, coming back to this moment. I've actually written a little song about that. I'll have to be brave and play it one day. I play it, in small groups, but recording would be very different. But yeah, it's about coming back to this day, coming back to this moment. Yeah, it gives us the freedom just to come back and not be overly caught up in our mind. The thought of recording one of my songs has made me a little bit nervous. And so I've lost my train of thought. So I'm going to have to gather myself a little bit. And funny enough, there's this beautiful summit that's going on this week from the Shift Network on sound healing. And I'm completely digressing now, but this is the beauty of taking one step at a time. It's a summit on sound healing from the Shift Network, and they've got various speakers. And one of the speakers I was just listening to actually before recording this video, two speakers, I can't remember their names right now, but they were talking about how, the voice can be really terrifying when we're singing, and how to free up our natural voices and for it not to be associated with performance or fear or embarrassment or anything else. So anyway, I recommend that summit if you get a chance to look it up. So one step at a time. So that's a beautiful example of how taking one step at a time can lead us in directions we wouldn't have expected. So taking one step at a time does require some level of trust, I think. Some level of trust in ourselves and in nature to support us. In my experience, the more we do it, the more we're able to step into not knowing, the more we learn that there are magical things awaiting for us. And so then when we have doubts in our mind, or we're thinking, oh, I really want to plan, we can go, oh, actually, the last time I didn't create such a fixed plan, I wasn't thinking so much. That was really amazing. So maybe I can just take one step at a time today and see what unfolds. I often invite myself into that when I notice that I'm not opening to new things, or I'm trying to fixate too much on what might happen. I just bring back a memory of like, oh yeah, I know when I fall into just doing one step at a time, the future really does take care of itself. And I enjoy this day and this moment way more than trying to overplan. So we've covered a few things here. I've covered a few things here. What strikes you? What resonates with you? Are there any things in particular where you notice you perhaps go into over planning? Any particular areas of your life? And can you see any themes there? And with the thought of taking one step at a time, if we just think about this day and the day that presents itself, what might that thought help you with today? Whatever comes to mind is perfect. So I invite you, when you reach whatever that thought was, it may have been that it was about needing to do something, or go shopping, or create something, whatever it might be, you can bring that back into your awareness. Oh yeah, just one step at a time. What's here? What's here? What needs to happen next? And then the next step will totally take care of itself. It will all become clear. It will all become clear. And when we look back, when we take one step at a time, we can see that the pathway has been utterly miraculous. It's not a pathway we've created in our minds. It's like, wow, how did that happen? How did that happen? It was allowed to happen because we just took one step at a time. I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and if you have done, I would really appreciate if you press the little like button, the thumbs up. And I would also appreciate it if you might want to share it with anyone that you think might enjoy it, or that it might resonate with, that you think it might be useful for. And you can always subscribe to the channel and press the little bell to get notifications for future videos. And if you want to hear more about me and my work and subscribe to my newsletter, you can go to www.resonating.love. Wishing us all more peace in each day, more trust, more presence to be here with what is, and to open to whatever might want to unfold as we take one step at a time. Wishing you a very happy moment.